Welcome to A Course in Miracles Workbook for Students, Lesson 169. By grace, I live. By grace, I am released. Grace is an aspect of the love of God, which is most like the state prevailing in the unity of truth. It is the world's most lofty aspiration, for it leads beyond the world entirely. It is past learning. Yet the goal of learning for grace cannot come until the mind prepares itself for true acceptance. Grace becomes inevitable instantly in those who have prepared a table where it can be gently laid and willingly received, an altar clean and holy for the gift. So I'll pause here and just reiterate the truth that's being shared. Grace transcends learning, and yet learning is what helps our mind be prepared to receive the gift of grace. Grace is acceptance of the love of God within a world of seeming hate and fear. By grace alone, the hate and fear are gone, for grace presents a state so opposite to everything the world contains that those whose minds are lighted by the gift of grace cannot believe the world of fear is real. I love that thought. Once your mind has been lighted by the gift of grace, you cannot believe the world of fear is real. Isn't that a lovely thought? Right now, some of us, it's hard to believe that a world of true love is real. But after, you will not be able to believe any longer in a world of fear. Grace is not learned. The final step must go beyond all learning. Grace is not the goal this course aspires to attain, yet we can prepare for grace in that an open mind can hear the call to awaken. Wow. It is not shut tight against God's voice. It has become aware that there are things it does not know, and thus is ready to accept a state completely different from experience with which it is familiarly at home. So I'll pause here again and say, we all know this is true. We've seen it in others. We've probably seen it in ourselves. When we're so certain of something and we're not willing to even consider other people's ideas, it's like a lock on your mind. It can't be expanded. It can't be improved upon because we are literally refusing to receive further light. In that case, a mind is shut tight against God's voice. But A Course in Miracles helps us to open up heart and mind to be able to receive true knowledge. We have perhaps appeared to contradict our statement that the revelation of the Father and the Son as one has been already set. But we have also said the mind determines when that time will be and has determined it. And yet we urge you to bear witness to the Word of God, to hasten the experience of truth and speed its advent into every mind that recognizes truth's effects on you. Oneness is simply the idea God is, and in being His, He encompasses all things. No mind holds anything but Him. We say God is, and then we cease to speak, for in that knowledge, words are meaningless. There are no lips to speak them, and no part of mind sufficiently distinct to feel that it is now aware of something not itself. It has united with its source, and like its source itself, it merely is. I'm going to pause and say, I have found in my own life that when I get really active in my mind and spinning in circles, trying to understand things from a human perspective, I get really, it's miserable. And I love here, it has united with its source, and like its source itself, it merely is. What I've experienced is that when I follow the advice to be still and know, things are self-evident. Things that my ego was spinning its wheels on for days, months, maybe years, become completely self-evident and or irrelevant. We cannot speak nor write nor even think of this at all. It comes to every mind when total recognition that its will is God's has been completely given and received completely. It returns the mind into the endless present where the past and future cannot be conceived. It lies beyond salvation, past all thought of time, forgiveness, and the holy face of Christ. The Son of God has merely disappeared into his Father, as his Father has in him. I'm going to pause and say, to my ego, I used to feel scared by thoughts like that. I don't want to introduce fear into your minds if you're already well past that phase. But if you are in that phase of like, I don't want to dissolve, I want to be me, I want to assure you that A Course in Miracles will only bring you closer to your true self, closer to the joy, the love, and the sweetness that you are. And this is not a hierarchical concept where we dissolve into God. I think this is really beautiful, where it says the Son of God has merely disappeared into his Father, and his Father has in him. There ceases to be such a harsh separation and line between the Father and the Son. Christ spoke of the Father and I are one. And he asked each of us to become one with the Father, one with our source, with love, with joy. You are unique and precious. It is only our egos that need to be special, above or below others. Love has no need for that, because love is everything and self-effulgent. So it's not trying to survive or get ahead or compete, because as we've learned through A Course in Miracles, when you're in that state of oneness, the world of fear is no longer conceivable. So the things that drove us forward in the world of fear, like beasts of burden, like sticks and carrots, are not what motivate your true self. Your true self is motivated only by love, by joy, by peace, by truth. The Son of God has merely disappeared into his Father, as his Father has in him. The world has never been at all. Eternity remains a constant state. This is beyond experience. We try to hasten. Yet, forgiveness, taught and learned, brings with it the experiences which bear witness that the time the mind itself determined to abandon all, but this is now at hand. We do not hasten it, in that what you will offer was concealed from him who teaches what forgiveness means. All learning was already in his mind, accomplished and complete. He recognized all that time holds and gave it to all minds, that each one might determine from a point where time was ended, when it is released to revelation and eternity. We have repeated several times before that you but make a journey that is done. It is finished. For oneness must be here. Whatever time the mind has set for revelation is entirely irrelevant to what must be a constant state, forever as it always was, forever to remain as it is now. We merely take the part assigned long since and fully recognized as perfectly fulfilled by him who wrote salvation's script in his Creator's name and in the name of his Creator's Son. There is no need to further clarify what no one in the world can understand. Wow. I just find that a very powerful statement. There is no need to further clarify what no one in the world can understand. When revelation of your oneness comes, it will be known and fully understood. Now we have work to do, for those in time can speak of things beyond and listen to words which explain what is to come is past already. Yet what meaning can the words convey to those who count the hours still and rise and work and go to sleep by them? Suffice it then that you have work to do to play your part. The ending must remain obscure to you until your part is done. It does not matter, for your part is still what all the rest depends on. As you take the role assigned to you, salvation comes a little nearer each uncertain heart that does not beat as yet in tune with God. Forgiveness is the central theme that runs throughout salvation, holding all its parts in meaningful relationships. The course it runs directed and its outcome sure. And now we ask for grace, the final gift of salvation, the final gift salvation can bestow. Experience that grace provides will end in time. For grace foreshadows heaven, yet does not replace the thought of time, but for a little while. I'm going to pause and say, so we're still going to play in time. We're still here experiencing time. I just find these last couple paragraphs very lovely and whimsical in a way. Suffice it then that you have work to do to play your part. The ending must remain obscure to you until your part is done. I find that a comforting assurance, protective even. There have been times in my life, even recently, where I've caught myself thinking in loops of, what am I supposed to be doing? Am I doing the right thing? What comes next? What's going to happen? What will come of this? And Spirit gently reminding me to be still and be at peace. At this stage where we are playing our part in awakening God's Son, we still have the illusion of time, and we still have the illusion of separation. And we still have this concept of the future being unknown. And this is a blessing, because were we to know what comes tomorrow, we would be forfeiting the lessons and the growth that comes between now and then. And yet we can rest in God. We can rest in peace. We can rest in love while we watch the unfolding occur, this perceptual unfolding, and learn to love and respect and honor life and its unfolding. God does not give us any gifts that are not in our highest good. Everything that happens is in your highest good. I conceptualize it as a stream where I literally can sit in the raft and enjoy the beautiful scenery, knowing that I will land on the right banks at the right time. But when I get afraid, when I go into ego and I think, oh shoot, I don't trust this process. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm scared. And I go into fear. That's when the temptation to pull out my paddle and start paddling upstream comes. And I have spent days, months, and even years paddling upstream, becoming exhausted, depleted, disheartened, despair. And it wasn't until I finally just took the paddles out of the water and was still and trusted the flow. Didn't try to hurry it, didn't try to slow it, trusted it, that my life became sweet. Experience that grace provides will end in time, for grace foreshadows heaven, yet does not replace the thought of time, but for a little while. The interval suffices. It is here that miracles are laid, to be returned by you from holy instants you receive, through grace in your experience, to all who see the light that lingers in your face. What is the face of Christ but his who went a moment into timelessness and brought a clear reflection of the unity he felt an instant back to bless the world? How could you finally attain to it forever, while a part of you remains outside, unknowing, unawakened, and in need of you as witness to the truth? Be grateful to return, as you were glad to go an instant, and accept the gifts that grace provided you. You carry them back to yourself, and revelation stands not far behind. Its coming is ensured. We ask for grace and for experience that comes from grace. We welcome the release it offers everyone. We do not ask for the unaskable. We do not look beyond what grace can give. For this, we can give in the grace that has been given us. Our learning goal today does not exceed this prayer. Yet in the world, what could be more than what we ask this day of him who gives the grace we ask, and it was given him? By grace I live, by grace I am released. By grace I give, by grace I will release. Wow. It's a powerful mantra. By grace I live, by grace I am released. By grace I give, by grace I will release. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you tomorrow for lesson 170.